the House Minority Whip, Steny Hoyer, one of the highest-ranking Democrats on Capitol Hill. Congressman, very good to have you.
Good to be with you, Neil, as always.
What do you think of all of this?
Typical. The Republicans are a deeply divided party and have been so for the last 6 years, and they've had great difficulty reaching consensus on important pieces of legislation. And I think what you're seeing reflected is every day this bill goes forward, and frankly, it gets worse by the day. The American public overwhelmingly are rejecting this bill now in the most recent poll, 3-1. They're saying this bill is not good for them. It's not good for their country. They're saying that they're going to pay more and get less. They're saying that CBO, they believe CBO, unlike the Republicans, that 24 million people are going to lose their insurance over the next 9 years, and that there's an age tax on there where seniors are going to pay more.
Maybe they're just confused, right? I mean, maybe they figure that the Democrats ram stuff through. They're fearing that the Republicans are ramming stuff through, and they hate both of you guys.
Well, I don't think either one of us are particularly popular. I agree with that. Neil, you're right. I don't want to have alternative fact that we're all very popular around the country. But having said that, there is no doubt that Americans post-election, when they really looked at what have I got in the Affordable Care Act as opposed to Obamacare, what have I got, and they've decided that it's much better than what the Republicans are offering, and that, yes, maybe we need to fix the Affordable Care Act, but we don't need to repeal it. And I think what's happening is members are hearing that, Republican members are hearing that from their constituencies, and it's ironic there's sort of a pincer here in the Republican Party where a number of members are saying you're hurting people too badly. And frankly, the other group, and they don't say it this way, but you're not hurting enough people. In other words, you're not taking enough of the benefits. Let me ask you about that, if you don't mind,
Congressman. Are you getting a sense that not a single Democrat then would vote on this effort of Republicans? I mean, obviously you count your own members as well. Not one would vote for this? Not one? Because say what you will of a lot of features of this, it does fix some of the things. But you're saying not a one would vote?
Well, Neil, I'm not sure I accept your premise that I don't know what it fixes, but the fact of the matter is not a single Democrat is going to vote for this Republican bill. They believe it's bad for their districts, bad for their people, and bad for their country. That does not mean they all agree that we shouldn't not have some changes in the Affordable Care Act. And I told the Republicans last night that I and the leadership of the Democratic Party is prepared to sit down and say, look, if you don't like certain portions of the ACA and you want to make it better, the Affordable Care Act, and make it better, we're prepared to work with you on that. That's a reasonable thing to do. But you mentioned the leadership of
the Democratic Party, yes, Congressman, and Nancy Pelosi was asked about this as well. Who is that leadership? I know you're in that leadership. I know Nancy Pelosi is. Who is the Democratic leader today? The
Democratic leader in the House of Representatives is Nancy Pelosi.
All right.
Period.
And you're the silver medalist.
Well, I suppose I'm the silver medalist. I think my voice is pretty influential within the party.
But see, the reason why I mentioned it, not to be facetious, sir, but that you're not offering real help, and you're bashing, which, you know, many might feel is Democrats' chance to go back at Republicans or the way they were treated and bashed, but that the tit for tat is getting old.
No, it's certainly tit for tat is getting old. But by the way, if you review the Bush administration and you review Pelosi as Speaker and me as Majority Leader, you ask George Bush. Don't ask me. He will say we work together on important issues. You ask John Boehner in terms of the sustainable growth rate for reimbursement to docs on Medicare. Nancy Pelosi and John Boehner, Steny Hoyer, McCarthy worked together, and we got a bill done. And very frankly, we got it done notwithstanding the majority of Republicans in many instances were opposing us. Overwhelming majorities of Democrats and Republicans joined together.
So it's possible. You're right about that. It is possible.
Neil, whoa.
Oh, go ahead.
Not only is it possible, but I would suggest to you that it was not possible for Republicans to work with us when Obama was president of the United States, and they didn't. I was in all the meetings, and they simply did not do that. Now, Eric Cantor and I did come together. You should have heard what they said about you. Well, actually, they're pretty good to me, and so.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get a handle on, Congressman, is this view that I don't know the parliamentary rules or whatever the term is for how you guys do things, but if they are so divided on this, can they legally or whatever the term is move on to tax cuts if that's their next big thing and just shelve this, or what?
Well, certainly legally, the answer to that question is yes. Tax bill is a independent bill, a discrete bill, if you will, from the health care bill. Although, as you know, the health care is a very, very substantial tax cut for, we believe, the wealthiest in this country. But that aside, certainly they can move on to a tax bill. I'm not sure they have consensus on a tax bill, very frankly, Neil. And I think the problem you see, and I don't have to say it to you, you've watched it for 6 years, a deeply divided party. That's why John Boehner is not the Speaker of the House. That's why Paul Ryan is having so much difficulty for his piece of legislation, notwithstanding he has a Republican president.
Well, you know, you guys, no offense, are hardly the Waltons, right? I mean, you're not all together, right?
We're a pretty united party, Neil. You know, I've been at this business a long time, and the Democratic Party, both when we were in the majority and when we were in the minority, we passed everything with 218
Democrats. I guess what I'm
Democrats.
saying that there are those progressives in the party, you know, who are saying Bernie Sanders is saying you have to charge harder left, others saying moderate a little bit. I would put you in that latter group. I could be wrong. What do you say?
I think that's probably where most people put me. But the fact of the matter is, we have been able to work together, and the record shows you go vote after important vote after important vote, the Democratic Party has been united. I don't mean 100%, I don't mean unanimous, but certainly united. And we're united in this effort, not because we believe the Affordable Care Act is perfect, but because we believe it is much, much better than the alternative being offered by the Republicans, which would, frankly, undermine affordable health insurance and health care for millions and millions of Americans. And the CBO, both under Republican leadership and under Democratic leadership. Steve Elmendorf agrees with Mr. Hall, who's the Republican CBO director. So you've got the Democratic director and the Republican director agreeing that the findings of the CBO are accurate. And the American public are saying this is not good for us, it's not good for our country, and they're urging us to, by a 3-to-1 margin at this point in time in the most recent poll, to reject this. And that's
Have you talked to the president on any of this stuff?
Very, very, very briefly for one meeting some weeks ago.
Okay. Steny Hoyer, very good catching up with you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.
All right, Steny Hoyer, the Democratic whip in the House, second most powerful Democrat in that town.